Did you know that director Steven Spielberg spent 5 months on the Rainman screenplay, but had to leave the project in order to honor his commitment to George Lucas to direct the third Indiana Jones movie? Barry Levinson replaced Spielberg on Rainman and would ultimately win the Oscar for Best Director, while the film itself would pick up Oscars for Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Screenplay written directly for the screen. In a 1989 interview with Premiere Magazine, Spielberg describes being very upset not to have been able to do Rainman.
The film began winning Best Picture and Best Writer and Best Act. I kept thinking, God, maybe I should have forgotten my entire friendship with George Lucas and said, George, go hire somebody else to do Indy 3, and I should have done that.
Son of a bitch!
Chapter 1. The Goonies in 1912 Utah. The focus of this chapter will be the cold opening of the motion picture. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is the third Indiana Jones film, following Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981, Indy is in mortal danger from Belloc and the Jovitos, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in 1984, Indy is in mortal danger from Lachey's Men, which brings us to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in 1989. The difference in the cold opening between the three films is that in Raiders and Temple of Doom, we are presented with Indy, adult Indy, in a situation of mortal danger. Whereas in Last Crusade, young Indy is thrust into this sort of Goonies-like adventure where he's stumbling along, and his pursuers are stumblers as well. So there doesn't seem to be very much competence on either side at being pursued or pursuing. I think this robs this cold opening of any sense of jeopardy or anything is at stake. It's just sort of like a Scooby-Doo adventure. Nothing to really engage us except for, comedic hijinks that there are. Contrast this with Raiders, where Belloc is portrayed as a very competent foil to Indy. We are shown Belloc seeing what his Nazi allies don't see, that these early morning diggers have located the Ark. We see that Belloc knows Indy better than Indy knows himself. For instance, he predicts correctly that Indy won't blow up the Ark. Meanwhile, back in Last Crusade, what do we got? There's some animals. Fake giraffe, fake rhino, a real lion. Some real and probably some fake snakes mixed in there to add the jeopardy to the situation that these inept grave robbers aren't adding.
And I'd have done it too, if you kids hadn't come along.
Also notice the continuity error where the gun is there and then the gun is down there. And the only injury or blood drawn is Indy to himself on his chin with the whip. Compare this to the deaths that are met with Indy's companions or inflicted by Indy on his enemies in the previous two cold openings. Who is this guy with the cap? His fall doesn't seem convincing, and look how he kicks these guys. It's like they're pretending to fall back, and he's pretending to fall forward into the snakes, and he's pretending to lunge the knife at him, and he's pretending to resist. It seems very pretendy. Is that a word, pretendy? That's what this scene has, pretendiness. Also notice how the backgrounds behind the actors as the train is moving changes from these trees to these bushes, and then from these trees to these rocks. And this door shot, this train door, we linger on a train door for what seems like an eternity. What was Steven thinking about during this shot? For an example of non-lingering POV shots, look at Raiders. Young Indy kicks back Roscoe. Young Indy looks at the door, gunshot goes through the door, and then they open the door and come through.
There's nothing worse than having a static shot because we're so used to the movement. We're moving with the trucks, moving with the cars, whether they're mount shots with car to car. If we have a wind machine or anything blowing some dust in, it'll give some movement.
Well, there's a gunshot, so it's kind of moving, but it still looks like a static shot of a door to me. Also, while these two have come through the door, having shot through the door, what is our capped friend Roscoe, who was kicked back by Indy, doing all this time? This is the problem with the lingering door, is that Roscoe goes down, Indy gets up while Roscoe is still down. They shoot through the door while Roscoe is still down. They come through the door while Roscoe is still down. Indy looks at the water tank while Roscoe is still down. In Raiders, Indy kicks the mechanic, and the German mechanic gets up and lunges at him. He punches the mechanic, he lunges again. After Indy knocks down Roscoe, why doesn't Roscoe just get up like the mechanic did? This storyboard of a sequence of shots that didn't make it into the final film perhaps explain what happened. Indy wasn't supposed to get up and look at the door. Indy was supposed to get up and see Roscoe throw a knife at him, and the knife would be intercepted by the rhino horn. Here's a production still showing the dagger in the rhino horn, so it was shot. This is from Jeffrey Boehm's 1988 March draft. Indy kicks Roscoe away. Roscoe rolls to the edge of the car but keeps from falling. Indy flips over onto his stomach as Roscoe throws his knife. It's aimed at Indy's face and would probably have struck him right between the eyes. But the rhino horn comes up through the roof again, directly in front of Indy's face, and the knife sticks in it. Indy gets to his feet, looks ahead, sees a water tank alongside the track directly up ahead. So this shooting through the train door shot isn't even in the March 1988 draft. So what Indy is reacting to in this shot is not the train door, but Roscoe about to throw his knife. Indy's jaw-dropping expression of sudden alertness as he flips over is a high-energy moment. It was intended to be followed by the high-energy moment of Roscoe's knife throw, but instead we get a low-energy moment of a train door. This energetic buildup of Indy moving into position, ready for danger, is deflated by the static door shot, and the subsequent stumbling of the two grave robbers crawling awkwardly through it. But now the storyboard tells us what was originally intended, and we can see how the pieces of the puzzle do not fit. Well, thanks for watching. Bye.